Are you looking to start a podcast? Yes! Then see this episode's show notes for our unique promo code to get up to 2 months of free podcasting service with Libsyn when you sign up for a new account. Get your show on Apple and Spotify. Get helpful audience building stats and all the support you need to sound your best. They can even do video. Bring your podcast to life and have your voice heard here, there, and everywhere with Libsyn. Again, see our show notes for our unique Libsyn promo code and get podcasting.
Welcome back, Loony listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast. This is episode 275, and you are with your High Priest of KHONSHU. I'm Ray, and Rebecca, of course, is returning. Hey, Rebecca.
Hey.
Hey.
I feel like I haven't spoken in ages.
We're going to be saying that a lot, I think.
We're going to be so sick of each other by the end.
Never, but
6 weeks time. Never.
We'll have...
Hasn't happened yet.
But we have tons and tons of Moon Knight goodness. I mean, this week, just briefly, what we're going to do for this episode, of course, is a reaction episode to episode 2 of the TV show Summon the Suit. So that will be fun. Just Rebecca and my just brief thoughts, reactions to it. I mean, we have seen it before, but we get to see it again. And what we want to do is just drop in our kind of initial thoughts, and this will be followed up by a panel discussion with some other Loonies and Rebecca, if you're keen.
Well, I mean, I was about to say a panel discussion that will actually make better points.
Oh, look, we're just kind of...
We're coming at it fresh. It's still in our minds. Yeah. Like, obviously, I'm still distracted by the final scene.
Yes.
As one of my friends just pointed out to
I was
me.
lingering on the scenes there, Rebecca, thinking, yep, I'm pretty sure Rebecca's...
That's because only you know just how much I screamed when it happened.
But yeah, we are covering this reaction episode. But of course, Rebecca and I are going to be busy because the new comic book is out as well. So we'll be releasing another episode to cover the comic book issue 10 by Jed MacKay later on. So much to get through.
And I've just seen my first page of Black, White and Blood.
Oh, have you?
Around on Twitter. Yeah. It was a bit surprising because it had Spider-Man in.
Oh.
And I thought the only red that we were going to see in Black, White and Blood was blood. But the Spider-Man
is red as well.
Red.
Okay, fair enough.
So I literally saw it 10 minutes ago, and I was like, I'm now confused over Black, White, and Blood. But hey, why not?
That's it. That's so cool, Rebecca and I. We're so lucky and fortunate. Rebecca, just prior to our recording as well, I shared with you, and I'm not going to name any names, but I was just really excited getting contacted by someone from the Moon Knight show, TV show. Just sharing their experience, which was fantastic. So,
what a gift!
What a gift!
I mean, if we weren't already sailing on a high today.
Exactly. So they listen to the show. So a shout out to you know who you are. Thank you very much for following and for becoming a Moon Knight fan. Now, before we dive into it, of course, a big thank you to our patronies, each and every one of you. It's great. It's going well. I mean, Rebecca and I, the show is.
Thank you for helping us.
Absolutely, and we do sincerely mean that. So a big thank you to one and all. Big thanks to Drew Tombz, Daniel Doing, and Frank the Tank Dukes. They're the top tier patronies, so I want to give them a shout out. Drew, of course, the creator of Tombz and LURKMUSICK. Daniel Doing, creator of Fringe Night, and Frank the Tank. I've got to get details. He did mention to me he's got an Instagram all Moon Knight related as well, which he'd like to.
I was going to say, creator of great Moon Knight research.
Oh my gosh!
And panel. Well done. Yeah. And also, you gave him a great nickname, so well done.
Well,
Ray.
Yeah, I mean, and I just want to Frank, like the think tank. I mean, because he just came up with just so much.
We should add think tank in there.
Frank the think tank.
I'm going to try and give him some homework.
So a big thank you to all our top tier patronies, to CLZ Comics and to Dreamland Comics from Schoenberg, Illinois. So Rebecca, I mean, we're just gonna actually before I get into it, let's play the little ditty. Let's head into our moon and stars. Yes.
I love it so much. But also, what it made me think of this time is that random bullshit go meme.
Connor put
And
something
I
up,
thought
didn't he, as well?
it's a particularly great way to introduce you and me talking about the episode we've just
Random
watched.
bullshit. Exactly.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, I mean, we've only done it once before, but what Rebecca and I'll do, we'll just basically skate across anything that took our interest with the show. Again, big spoilers. So if you haven't watched the show, please do so. Or if you don't mind spoilers, just
Go
yeah,
watch it.
go
Just
watch
go
it.
watch it.
Yeah.
But also, like, seriously, if you don't mind spoilers, but you haven't watched it, go listen to a podcast that actually breaks
Yep.
it down.
Yeah, yeah.
And you'll have more of an idea what's going on than our, because we're going to be
We're
a
gonna
bit
be
all over the place, because there's a lot of podcasts that do the
Absolutely.
breakdowns, and
Great.
you know,
Yeah, great.
good for them being that
Exactly.
prepared. But,
Great
you
call
know,
as well. TV Podcast Industries have released their episode 2
Yeah.
review, so please go check them out. They know what they're doing. Really great review.
yeah, that's almost always my
Me
first
too.
port of call when I want to
Yeah.
break down. But I'm still listening to some of these new Moon Knight podcasts now,
Mhm.
so maybe we'll have other recommendations by next week. It's been a bit of a
Oh,
crazy
it has.
time.
It has. So in our little corner of the Moon Knight verse, so Rebecca and I will do basically we'll go across the curvy bits, all the nice meat of the show, and we'll have a couple of pointy ends. So just again,
Yeah, things that are going to be
mhm,
controversial to comic fans.
exactly. So Rebecca, let's get into it. What do you want to start with? What a cracker of an issue of an episode.
It was so much more densely packed with
Mm.
stuff than I remembered. Like, so I had my notes from when we first watched it, and I had to start adding stuff to the margins because I had no room for them. And I was like, there's a lot of stuff I
Yeah,
forgot. So I just want to do very quickly get out the way all the numbers.
sure.
This is the
I
homework
was
for
thinking about
Frank
that. Yeah.
because I like so the storage unit is number 43.
43, Rebecca, any?
Only reference I can find is Mark Spector Moon Knight 43
Oh,
is an issue.
yeah.
I mean, it's not a particularly consequential issue. It has the Shadow Cabinet in. I know.
Or a
I mean,
tail.
like, it has the
That's right.
Shadow Cabinet and Speedball in. Yeah. So, if anybody wants to, I don't remember it off the top of my
Mm.
head. I didn't have time to
That's a
go
very
look. So, if anybody wants to go see why that one might be
It's a
referenced
very
at all,
odd one to reference, but fair enough. 43.
yeah, look, I'm not
Mm.
saying that any of these numbers are referencing anything. Like, as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned, they might not be, but like people like
Yeah.
to, and also that's the number is where the QR code
Mhm.
is for your free comic. So that was on the storage cabinet
Okay.
this time. His apartment is
Yeah, I
502.
saw that and I was just thinking, what the hell is that?
Avengers Disassembled with Moon Knight in his
Okay.
502, but he's not. Again, he's not prominent.
Mhm.
And on the bus, I think
Oh,
we all know the
yes.
reference to
Yeah.
this one. WBN
Again,
0032.
another double shout out. I mean, we had that last episode.
That
Yeah.
one, we all know where that one's from. So that's
Yeah.
his origin,
Cool.
which is cool because a lot of the buses do have letters on the top. I don't know if they also have
Mm.
numbers and stuff like that.
Okay.
So, but that was pretty cool. When I was watching it with Ray and Noel, I was saying, oh, it definitely had
Yeah.
WBN one, but it didn't have 32. It was like
Right.
37 or something. This time I was totally
It was
proven wrong that it was
Yeah.
actually, but it was a very brief
It was a very
show
brief.
in the middle
Yeah.
of a
I mean,
fight. So that's that out the way, everyone. We did
we
notice
did
the
notice the
numbers.
numbers as well.
We're gonna leave it to you to find more
Oh,
significance than
look,
we
I'm
have.
sure after repeated watches, Rebecca, we'll be looking for little tidbits here and there, and as you said, I'm sure
Yeah.
other reviews will probably call them out. Although, mind you,
And then
sorry,
some,
Rebecca, mind
yeah,
you,
go
I
on.
think some of the reviews for episode 1 didn't pick up the Crawley thing, so I think we're quite good with that.
I think maybe that's like we discovered on the Discord that there was some sort of cultural differences about if you're used to seeing those standing statue
Oh, yeah,
people.
okay, yep.
So some people weren't as used to seeing them as
Right.
buskers. So
Yeah, someone thought it
like
was a real
I was
statue,
like
right?
immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that's weird if
Mm.
you've never seen
Oh,
people
it's
busk like that because it's a weird
that
way
is
to busk. But I loved in this episode when he hugged him, and I was like, I just wanted him to come away covered in gold, like
I
paint.
paid
Like,
particular attention to that because you notice I wanted to read his eyes.
Paulie eyes are
They are, but
beautiful. They're
but the only
beautiful.
time you see him move is like when Steven hugs him and he kind of looks down. And I was trying to think, okay, so is he giving anything away? Like, as in, I
Yeah.
know what you're going through. But yeah, well, not really. It's pretty hard to, yeah. But
Um, I can't remember what I was going to
also,
say, but that's fine. No, no, I have a lot of
yeah,
notes. But I like seeing Crawley
Crawley
again.
was great. Yeah, yeah. I mean, a different situation. Steven having lost his job now, so you know, confiding in Crawley for that. Last time we saw him, he had hopes, you know, because he was going on a date.
Yeah, he
So,
was talking about his date, and then, but yeah, so now it's so he's lost his job, but now we're getting more into the mark, and obviously Marlene shows up. Marlene,
oh, wait, what
Layla
shows
shows
up?
up.
Don't know why you said that, Rebecca.
I didn't. That's literally the funny thing is, there's literally no reason
Yeah,
why I said it. I'm just thinking of Moon Knight, and it just happens that way. My mind is like fixed. I see women
yeah.
and Moon Knight, and then so now we get to see more of more of the other characters. We get to see more of Harrow's setup.
Yes.
So I like that they're continuing with characterization of the
Mhm.
antagonist. I'm not quite ready to call him a villain yet. I mean, like, I do think this sort of preemptive
Yep.
justice with Amit is a bad
Yes.
thing and is kind of evil. And I love that Stephen gets to call him out on that. Like, we don't have to have Mark
I
call him
loved
out
it.
on that.
Yeah.
Stephen's like, yeah, I thought that was really strong. Like, Stephen Stephen has been portrayed as, this slightly ineffective, jokey, isn't sure what's going on. But like, but he does manage, like, we do know his knowledge
Mhm.
levels are good. He's learning French and hieroglyphs. He's an intelligent
Yep.
guy, and he sees through what Harrow's saying
Yep.
to him. So uh in all these levels, it's showing that it's his social
Yep.
skills that are slightly now. So that's the other thing I wanted to say. So coming back to what was discussed on the panel about how real this
Mhm.
could be, and his mother,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
uh I thought it was, so I picked up this time that Layla says, when he says he's talking to
Yep.
his mom, Layla says, "Oh, are you talking
Yes.
again? Are you
And I'm
speaking again?"
assuming. Sorry. Go
So
on.
so so that assumes whether Stephen is talking or not to a real mother, or leaving messages for, Mark does have a mum he's not speaking to
Yes.
that Layla knows of, or that's within the story Layla has about him,
Yes.
and she's married to him. We'll get onto
Yes.
that. That might be a pointy end.
But I thought that was a good point as well with the mum. I mean, for all intents, Layla believes this is Mark putting on an act still. It's not Steven. So
Yeah,
so Mark's mother is established. So but is she the
yeah.
one
I
that
mean,
is
like,
still speaking to Steven? We don't. Wow.
right. We still
Yeah.
don't know if that's who Stephen's speaking
Yeah.
to, and there's a lot still up in the air. But I don't think I picked that up that Layla said that the first time we watched it.
Okay. Yeah, I
So
forgot
this
it
time,
all.
I think having you guys talk about it and
Yeah.
raise it made me pay a bit more attention. So,
Yeah.
what other good
Um,
things?
well, I thought again, getting, I mean, off the back of Steven at the very beginning, the beginning scene was great. Steven's so kind of caught up in the authorities catching him for vandalizing the toilet, which is it's a
I
lot
know.
bigger than that.
That's such a lovely way of
Yeah.
putting it.
I
Like,
mean, when
he ripped a sink out. Like, I'm not entirely sure how it, but there wouldn't be CCTV in
no,
the toilet.
no, they wouldn't. So,
So,
but
which is funny because, like, they also wouldn't know how he
yeah,
did it.
yeah. I mean,
So,
and you can't even see the jackal
and then
as
he
well.
says the museum's like happy to let him off as long as he pays in installments. And I'm like, how much money would he? I mean, he has just found a bunch of money in
Yeah,
Mark's
yeah.
stash. So,
Uh,
like,
yeah, but I mean,
um,
that was
but yeah, that's crazy. Like, how long would they think it would
I
take him to
know.
pay it
Well,
off?
I mean, at
But
the end of the day, they kind of let him go, don't they? And
I did like that the museum cared about his mental
that was
health,
the thing I was gonna raise. I mean, yes,
potentially. I mean, if we take it for granted
yes.
that they're telling, that this is
Well,
what
I
it
mean, yeah,
is.
they give him that pamphlet, and he's like, okay, well, maybe
Yeah.
I do need a little help because he's been a little. out of sorts recently, and even then the comedy was coming through. I mean, like he was putting up, "Oh,
Yeah,
look, she looks like she's really listening in
they
the
look nice.
pamphlet." So,
Yeah.
um, but maybe an indicator there that Mark of Stephen needs some sort of help. So,
So I assume on the good side we will have the security footage not showing the jackal and Layla not being able to see the jackal
mhm,
as a
mhm,
like I can't see how that would be on the bad
no,
side. So I thought it was good. I thought again it's throwing that in like what's real, what isn't real, both for Stephen and for us as
yes,
viewers. And then later like where Layla fits into that because while she can't see the jackal, she hits it and you can see a sort of shuddering edge
mhm,
around it. So, I have no answers. I thought that second fight with him fighting the invisible
mm.
jackal was so well
It was good,
choreographed and
yeah.
like,
I was paying attention, yeah,
yeah, and but it's also another way to show a fight without getting super violent and
mhm,
bloody, and for better or for
mhm,
worse, it's a clever way of
yep,
doing that. Like, and it's something we haven't really seen because, like, usually when you're fighting invisible things, it's played a lot more for
yeah,
laughs. But you could see that, like it starts off a bit funny, with him suiting
yeah,
up, falling
yeah,
over,
yeah.
like, but as the fight goes on, so I'm just throwing that one up as a what is
Yes.
real?
Yeah,
Like, are we
true.
you know, again, no answers there.
Yes, but I mean
Um,
that fight was really cool to see. I mean, the suit. We'll get to that a bit later on. This whole thing. I mean, the title of this episode is "Summon the Suit" as well. So it's we
yeah,
get a lot. I got a lot more fleshing out and the reveal of a first look at Mister Knight. Um,
yeah,
but Yeah, I mean, I want to kind of go back a little bit with Steven, oh, with Mark, sorry. When Stephen gets a visit from the two detective constables,
yes.
Fitzgerald, is that right? And I can't remember the other,
It was Fitzgerald
and
and
Kennedy.
Kennedy
Yeah,
because I wrote down, are they US both
yeah.
presidents?
I was thinking in my head while I was watching it. Why
Fitzgerald was one,
F.
right?
Scott
I could
Fitz?
yell
Oh no,
across
that's
the
not.
house, but
No,
no, he's all
yeah.
right.
um, no, I don't. I'm not sure, but yeah, those surnames interested me. But I guess where this was going was that we get a reveal more of truer to the comics, the origin of Mark. Well, part of the origin of Mark Spector. We have them investigating this fake passport and looking up Mark Spector and him being involved in this dig site in Egypt.
Oh, it's John. Oh, JF Kennedy is John Fitzgerald
Oh, okay.
Kennedy.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's why.
Okay, there
So
you
there you
go.
go. Okay.
Um,
Back to Ray. I had
no,
to
no
look it
worries.
up. Sorry.
But yes, this kind of reveal of the origin of Mark Spector, how he was involved in um, ties and
Yes.
execution style murders, which horrified Stephen,
Killing of
archaeologist.
archaeologists.
And
Yeah, yeah.
again, for me, I mean, I'm sure you as well, Rebecca, got us so excited because yes, that's from the comics, you know. Um,
Yeah, yeah, that was
yes.
stellar, and also one of them is named. One of we get the first name of
Mm-hmm.
one of them, and I didn't write down which one it
It was,
is,
Billy,
but it's
Billy, which is, the guy.
the
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah. So, flagging up that that
Yes.
was Billy was the name of a guard in the Lemire
Yes,
front.
no, absolutely. They did seem very reminiscent to me, albeit, if it is indeed Bobby, a different gender, but they had the kind of countenance of the 2.
I
Yeah.
mean, look, they clearly didn't seem very
No.
well, we know
Yeah,
they aren't cops by the end of this
yeah.
episode. So like there was some deceit there as well, but I think it did very
Mhm.
well for establishing that, getting that
Yep.
origin in, letting Stephen be horrified by
Yes.
Mark, especially just after he's seen Mark's like hidey hole and the money, the passport, the
I thought it was a good
guns.
scene as well. It gave me a little.
So he's already a little bit
Yes,
horrified.
it gave me a little bit, just a little bit of, like, the Bourne Identity, 'cause him having that duffel bag of
Yeah,
money and guns and
I think one of the good things I'll say about that whole sequence is I think that the corridor and
mm,
Khonshu was another real sense of horror.
yes.
Like where they get the sort of horror
Yep.
cinematography right. with the flashing lights and but yeah, I mean, look, there's some great bits in that thing, like where he calls himself
Yeah,
handsome.
yeah. No, yeah.
I don't care
Yeah,
how
that is so
handsome you
funny.
are.
And
It's
indirect
like,
compliment
okay,
on
Steve,
the yeah,
we
yeah,
all
yeah.
get it, like.
Yeah.
But like Mark is telling him about
Mhm.
Khonshu and
Well,
that. I
that's,
mean, he's not telling him everything, but he does start to
yep,
tell him some of the
yep,
truth, or what we think is
yeah.
the truth, what we know of as the truth in the comics.
Absolutely. And I wanna just, I guess, call out now, directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. So this is, different. It's not Mohammed Diab in this instance, and written by Michael Castelline. So, uh, not,
Okay.
Jeremy Slater. But what I guess I mentioned that because of the directing, and you're talking about the horror elements. There was one little shot,
Yeah.
Rebecca, as he comes out of that storage place, and it just has him horrified, but it freeze frames. I don't know, like for like a second of him like going, "Ah!" and then he busts out.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just, I don't know, really
Yeah.
it was, I don't know, enjoyed it. It wasn't something I was expecting. It was kind of like a very different way to kind of show the end of
It
that
was so
scene. Yeah.
unexpected as well for Layla to come to like
Yeah.
rescue him,
Yeah.
and it was like that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And Layla
um,
rescuing him as well. There's a whole thing when they're on the motorbike. She still doesn't believe. It's Steven.
no, because why
Mm.
would you? Like, why would your partner like? Oh, why would you think that? I mean, it played out on me once. I once accused my partner of lying
Oh.
about having a kitten in the house, and that's how we got Diesel. So, you know. But I kept it up for half a day. I was like, "There is no cat in this house. You are teasing me.
No.
You've put out cat food bowls to
Yeah,
trick
yeah,
me." And they don't play practical jokes. I have no idea why I
yeah,
thought
yeah.
this. And then like about 6 hours in, I was like, "Fine, show me this kitten." It was hiding behind the
Oh
sofa. So
gosh. But yeah, we
yeah,
get the reveal of how Layla's tracked down Stephen anyway. I mean,
yeah,
he
tracked his
tracked his
phone.
phone, and I love it that she doesn't question it. She's assuming that Mark is doing this. She assumes that he was speaking in code when he was like obviously
Yeah,
baffled.
yeah. And that he turned the phone on
Yeah,
because he wanted her to
yeah,
track
yeah.
him. Like, so
Yeah.
duh.
But the big thing, yeah, here, Rebecca, is this, this is revealed that she is the wife. She wants to meet him for the divorce papers. So we have, Mark
A
Spector
wife.
with a wife. That's quite different.
She's got to be quite something for Stephen, who keeps missing
Yeah.
dates to like
Yeah.
to track.
Yeah. Um,
So yeah, I mean,
uh, yes. And
interesting. Like to see where that's gonna go. I mean, like,
yeah,
that was a shock and a
it is a
good
good shot.
shock,
Yeah.
but well, not a bad shock, just a
It
shock.
did sound though that they did have
Um,
a very, involved history, like, with the Scarab, so
mhm.
they went, scoured heaven and earth for it together, because she was so pissed off that
Yeah, and then
he.
but she obviously thought that he potentially was the kind of person who would
Mm,
then nick it and go off
yeah,
alone. So, I mean, like, there was no like, "Oh my god, why would you do that?" It's just like, "Oh, right, so that's what
mm.
you've done."
I
Straight to the
Yes.
anger.
I
So,
really liked May Calama I really don't know how to pronounce her surname. Calamawy. I really did enjoy her introduction into it. We only heard her voice first.
yeah, and like, so
Y
she's also having
Yeah.
to take on a lot about who this
Oh
Stephen
my
guy
gosh, was
is,
she on the run as well?
like, you can almost tell the moment where she's like, "No, okay, this is something real."
Yes. I
And like this isn't like and starts to be protective over
yes.
him, and start like and sort of say, he's not doing it to
No.
annoy me.
This
There's
is
something
genuine, like
different
yeah.
about him, so now I need to like step up. Like
Yeah.
somebody I love is going through
And
something,
how yeah.
and you know
Yeah, I mean, there were little bits I love the little touches, because obviously they're going through apparently a divorce, but Steven says something really sweet like, "Why would I divorce someone like you?" Like,
yeah, why would I do
Yeah,
it's
and
so sweet.
you can just see her heart soften in that instance, but also I wanted to just say, like, how much of a badass she is as well. Infilt
Yeah, right, the
Yep,
fights, I
infiltrating
mean,
Harrow's, compound or whatever it is, um
Yeah, she
as she
gets in
gets
there.
in
She
there.
gets in and she does some
She does some
kicking.
kicking, but she runs with Steven, and this is what you were saying, Rebecca. She's dropped the act, whatever. She still calls him Mark up to the point where they're kind of locked in that room where he goes, "Oh no, I'm gonna die in an
Yeah,
evil
I just
magician's."
can't do it. I can't
Yeah,
do it.
yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah, in the
Man
magician's man
cave.
cave.
But she just goes, "Okay, all right, let's find another way." But then further to that
Yeah,
as well, she
yeah,
takes on this invisible jackal. Like you see the
yeah, yeah.
anger in her face when she grabs that broken bottle and she just smashes it. Like,
And she obviously knows about
yeah,
Moon Knight
yes,
because she talks about
yep,
summoning the suit. And like when we get the Mr. Knight reveal, it makes it very clear to you that if somebody has said summon the suit, you would visualize a
mm,
suit.
yeah,
You wouldn't
yes,
think a superhero suit. You would literally think maybe not an amazingly intricate three-piece
yeah,
suit, like double-breasted, with like nicely sort of
mhm,
brocades and stuff, which is, I mean, it is gorgeous. But like, it's exactly what you'd think, and if you're like, if how you think of something and visualize it is what's bringing it out into your
yeah,
reality, then it's totally unsurprising. Like he actually says, like, "Well, you did say
yeah,
the suit,"
yeah,
and it's like, "I'm in a
yep.
suit," and like, Mark, come on, like, stop hassling me. I'm in a
Yeah.
suit, um, and he throws a good
He does,
punch.
and he celebrate afterwards as well?
Yeah, he does.
Which is probably not what you should do if you're still in the middle of a fight.
Look, we'll put that bit in the pointy end. We
Yes.
know Mr. Knight is going to be controversial for you.
Yes.
I loved
Yes.
it. I loved him.
Y
It's a case of just divorcing it from what I know from the comics right
yeah.
now. But I thought it suited. I thought it went very well with Stephen
Okay.
as a sort of like the violent side of Stephen versus the violent side of Mark.
Can I also I
And
wanted I
yeah,
just wanted to
sorry.
point out for that as well because, yeah, we'll get to the whole pointy end of it soon. But what I did notice as well, Rebecca, is that in the reflection, Mark is actually dressed as Mr. Knight as well. So it gets me thinking that because I originally thought that Mr. Knight now is established in this show that he is the Moon Knight version from Stephen Grant. But we also see
Yeah, I didn't notice that in the reflection.
well,
That's
when
cool.
he's talking to him and he calls him the Psycho Colonel
Yeah.
Sanders. So Mark is actually yeah.
Which is another great line.
So, I mean, Mark is dressed as Mr. Knight as well. So conceivably, Mark could still be Mr. Knight as well as Moon Knight, and I guess Stephen could still be Moon Knight as well as Mr. Knight.
It's the one thing we
Mm.
don't really know yet is if how
Yep.
separate that is, or once the alters know more about each other, or once the system knows more about the alters within it, whether Mr. Knight and Moon Knight are
Mhm.
alters or if they're the
It's
suited
true.
up versions of Mark and Stephen. Um, because somebody was asking me that about the comic, and it got a little bit
Mhm.
confusing. Like this morning, we were trying to like separate out some of the things, but just how desperate Stephen gets before he lets Mark take
Mm.
it. Like he really, really
Doesn't want
doesn't
to.
want Mark to take over the
Yep.
body
And
again. But then he has just heard all these terrible things about
yeah,
Mark.
of
I
course.
mean,
No, you don't want to. It's
but then Mark seems to be getting quite
yeah.
desperate as well. Like I mean, like with how much he wants to protect
Mhm.
Layla.
Yes.
Like, both in the flat where he's saying, "No, don't tell her what's in the
Yes.
bag," to when you get to sort of towards the end and he's like, "No, like, don't, you're gonna get her
Yeah,
killed," kind of
well,
thing.
that's another point, I guess, which we may raise later on. I don't know or not. But it seems that Khonshu is eyeing off Layla to be the next Avatar. So this is actually keeping Mark
Right.
as the Moon Knight because Mark doesn't want Layla to be an Avatar, so he's staying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this flagged up something else to me that I didn't think the first time I saw it. So like we might as well cover
Yep.
this now. Harrow is a former
Yep.
avatar of Khonshu.
Yeah.
Mark is the current avatar of Khonshu. Who has said that he'll keep his alters out of it, out
Yep.
of this deal. He made a deal with Khonshu, and Layla is who we hear Khonshu wants to pick next. Now, but also right in the middle of the episode, we have Harrow saying Khonshu is a
Yes.
liar.
Yes.
He will always say there's one last
Hmm.
thing. So I'm wondering if Khonshu is saying that about
Just
Layla
to.
because he knows it's the one way Mark will stay as his
Yeah. Yeah.
avatar.
Yep. Totally.
So that's a bit up in the air for me as
So,
well. Is
yep.
like it's one way or the other. He either is eyeing
Yep.
up Layla for it, and you know
Yes.
that's a good way of establishing. Look, they've established it's a legacy
Yep.
thing
Oh yeah, they have. Yeah.
now. If we with because I mean Harrow clearly does know
Yep.
Khonshu, unless this is all in the
Mhm.
head. Harrow, as we see him as a character, does seem to know Khonshu. He knows exactly what Khonshu would have just said
Yep.
to Mark.
Yeah.
He obviously puts his spin on it, because he's also not
Yep.
reliable.
But I mean,
But within that context,
yeah,
you
and
know,
look, I love the fact as well that again, this is for me, this was all about the origins and the avatars, and we get a little bit more through the lens of Arthur Harrow, the type of god that Khonshu is, and I love it because it does ring true to the comics as well. He's not liked by the other gods. He's a bit of a maverick. He's a liar.
yeah,
He can't be trusted. And this is great because this is the sort of character of Khonshu that I wanted to see on TV, and we're
yeah,
getting it. So I'm very happy for that. And the fact that Harrow can almost predict what Khonshu is saying says how predictable Khonshu is, his behavior, and how he's
yeah,
like
yeah.
he throws tantrums like a 2-year-old child, which again is
Which
it's
is
like
another
awesome.
great line, and
Yeah.
you know,
Um.
but he does establish that he's the god
Yep.
of the moon. Well, Mark establishes that he's the god of the moon and he protects the
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable. So we've got those out the
Yes.
way. I think that's all
I
the
I just
highlights.
also wanted to mention there's that nice exchange between Mark and Steven, and we get a little glimpse of what it's like to actually be in the body. And Steven's going, it's
Yeah,
horrible. Like, I can hardly
yeah,
move.
outside of the body.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
Mark's
yeah,
going,
yeah,
just
yeah.
breathe through it.
And Mark saying it'll be all your
Yep.
energy just to be a fly on
Yep.
the wall. Don't try and take
And
it
he does
over.
allude that it's been a long time. He's been doing this a long time. So
Mhm.
Mark is well aware of his alters, and he said that there used to be a wall between them, but for some reason now that's kind of gone.
It's kind of
Yeah.
dimmed out. Yeah.
And there's another.
Oh wait, I just thought of one
Yeah.
final good point, but let's carry on with
Oh
this
no.
first. But no, I thought that was like heartbreaking at the end, seeing
Steven's
Stephen in the
stuck in there.
mirror
I mean,
and Mark bashing it.
and just a thought. I mean, for at least comic book fans, because we know Mark, is for all intents the prominent one in this. Just the thought that we've had Steven for one episode, and he's such a cool alter, but now he's kind of in the box, and it's like, oh, he's like almost imprisoned in there. It was a little sad to hear, but at the same time, it was exciting to see Mark come out there as well.
Yeah, now we get Mark with his nice Chicago
Yeah, yeah,
accent
he was how
stepping out
how
into
awesome.
the.
Even at the beginning of the episode where you see the CCT footage and just Oscar Isaac's face to
Oh
just
my! You could totally tell it was a
yeah,
different
and
person. You could see. It's just
I
like it's
loved it.
crazy,
I loved it. So, Oscar Isaac, full props again for amazing acting
amazing,
as well, and Ethan Hawke as
bringing
well.
it to
I think
life.
Ethan Hawke and May as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
They all
but
did really, really well.
I think obviously Oscar has
Mm,
the
yes,
focal point and the hardest job there, especially with some of the physical
yeah, yeah,
stuff, and
yeah. Um,
which leads us on to
hmm
my final
yes.
good bit. So I think we got a glimpse of my favorite Moon Knight outfit
With a bottle as well.
with a bottle as well. Like
Uh,
Mark in
yeah.
boxer shorts. All he needs is a towel head or some kind of mask, and it'll be absolutely my favorite. But honestly, the way I screamed when it
Yeah.
first happened, I think I just screamed boxer shorts before we'd even
Yeah.
seen them. Like we'd just seen his
Yeah.
chest, and I was like, and then I did it again this morning with my friends watching it, and then a friend of mine's just been messaging me saying like, "You're never gonna stop talking about this, are you?" And I'm like, "No, I'm really not."
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
honestly, and it's not even to do with Oscar Isaac being shirtless is the funny thing. I'm more excited about seeing Moon Knight in boxer shorts. So, which just shows how sad my Moon Knight
Well,
levels
is
are.
it wrong of me to have
Um,
been checking Oscar out as well? Because I knew that you would be as well.
no,
So
it's
like,
never wrong to check
so
Oscar out. Never wrong.
he's sitting at the foot of the bed. Yeah, I just saw his leg in the black boxes. Going okay, and then I was thinking, okay, so I just want to see how I just want to see how much he's gone in training and getting ready for this role. So I was checking him out, and I got to say that
Right.
he's
What did you
I
decide?
think he's well toned. I mean, like well, we see mostly his back, but his back muscles were fantastic.
I'm so glad it's you saying that, not me.
But no, it's great. And my gosh, what an ending. We are in Egypt now as well. This is, oh,
And it looked
it does.
gorgeous,
It does
didn't
look
it?
really
You
good.
get to yeah,
Yeah.
like somebody was saying, for an Egyptian friend of mine was saying, well, one of the things is you never see the pyramids next to a town. You
Mm.
always see them as if they're miles away from
Yeah.
anything. It's just like so great that this is our first shot of them is
Oh
right
God,
next to a
yeah.
town.
It's fantastic.
So I just felt so happy for my friends that are gonna get to see it and like,
Yeah.
just realize look, it's still a TV show.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah, and
like
of course. Of course.
but it's still nice
Yeah.
to see and to but yeah, we're now in
Yeah.
Egypt, so here we
Um
go. I guess
yes.
the plot carries
Exactly,
on.
and just one final thing as well. I guess a point of difference. It might be a curvy bit. It might be a pointy end. Rebecca, we get a big first flash, and it was in the trailer of Arthur Harrow and this supernatural magic that he summons from Ahmed. So
Yeah, right. So the inverse pyramid, as
yeah,
I call it.
yeah.
His staff can summon
Mm.
jackals,
S-
which is
So it's very. We're really getting to the supernatural element, and of course, as well, the scarab is now confirmed to be some sort of compass. Which,
the
yeah,
sort of
which
compass. Yes, thank you, Zavi, for spoiling
yes,
that
and
in your adverts. But
yeah.
it
It
is
is
what
what
it
it is.
is.
But yeah, so I think that I mean there was plenty in there, Rebecca, but I think we did
There was so
skim
much,
through a lot.
but I think we've covered all the
Yeah,
really, like I will leave your panel
yeah, for sure.
to go into it more
Well, yeah,
detail,
hopefully
but
if you can make it as well.
well, I think we
Yeah,
did
you
pretty
know,
well for
absolutely.
us. For us. So
Now
now, which bits do we think are going to be? Where's the
the pointy
pointy
ends
end?
now. So what?
We already
Oh,
know
we
a
know.
couple.
Let's
We already know
start
the
the
biggie.
biggie. Mr. Knight, I'm sure will irk some people. It irked me a little as well because it's not your comic book version of Mr. Knight. It's a different interpretation. It makes actually more sense in the sense that the way it's come about is more organic with this TV version.
I I think that we've only seen the
Hmm.
beginnings of
Hmm.
Mr. Knight, and I
Mm,
loved it anyway because I just think it follows the general feel of the show. I think it's
yeah.
beautiful. Like I have a friend who is very into men's
Hmm.
fashion, like Matt, a guy, very into like what shirts go with what and what ties go with what. And we were talking about it a lot when it first came up as the character poster about the tie
Hmm.
knot and whether it would have
Oh
braces
yeah.
or like what you would have under the double-breasted waistcoat. So I think they've done a really good job of creating it could have just been a
Hmm.
white suit, and I love that it's just this really intricate, clearly like I almost said it's almost like a bar mitzvah
Hmm.
outfit, but like up to like adult, because it's a little bit fancier
Yeah,
than a normal suit. But I totally get why people find it jarring. But for me, it fits with the
it does.
whole feel of
Yeah,
the
it
show.
does.
But also, this is the beginning of Mr. Knight. We don't know. Next episode, he could be doing something
Hmm.
different. Um, this is that first manifesto. I love that the transformation happens mid jump,
Mm,
so we don't have to see, like, we don't have that kind of hug on like the
yeah.
bandages have. Um, but it's just there, and it's like a bit of a Mr.
Yes.
Ben. If anybody's old enough to watch Mr. Ben, it's like a Mr. Ben transformation. But I have seen people like I've seen criticism of it
Yeah.
already, um, and it isn't what people
Yeah.
expected. And I think going into it, like people wanted uh, levels of violence that they'd not seen before, and Mr. Knight often becomes that kind of focal point of
Hmm.
that because it's that whole "you'll see me
Yeah. Issue
coming,"
5 of
like
Warren Ellis. Yeah.
I'll wear the issue
Yeah.
5 thing, like, he'll wear the white, doesn't matter if it gets
Hmm.
bloody, all that kind of stuff. And he's kind of that focal point, and then to have him here, his first thing happen is that he falls
Yeah.
over, misses
Yeah.
punches,
Yeah.
um, cracks a few
Hmm.
jokes, and I don't think that in and of itself is bad. I saw somebody, on the Facebook group, I had a quick
Yeah.
flick, I don't know who, somebody mentioned it was a bit like, the quipping in Damnation.
Oh, okay. Right.
Um, and I can see from that point of view why that would lead to that sort of controversy
Hmm.
and be in the sort of it firmly puts it in the
Yep.
pointy end. It's like I'm not telling anyone that their opinion's wrong because they're opinions,
Exactly.
and I've had more time to settle with it because obviously I saw it a while
Yeah.
ago. first a while ago, 2 weeks ago. But a bit more time to settle with
Yes.
it. And like I think also that it's tied into a wider thing of people still not entirely being sure about the Stephen
Mhm.
Grant
Yep.
characterization.
True.
So I think if you buy into the Stephen Grant one,
Yep.
you're more likely to buy into this Mr.
Yeah.
Knight.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah,
Um,
and I agree.
but I've seen because I saw people on Twitter who aren't
Yep.
affiliated with the group, so I don't have to feel bad about
Oh, no.
forgetting who they are. Uh, saying that what they've done to Stephen is the worst thing they could have done, which is make him.
I
And I'm like,
know.
I like I said last week, I think what they've done is taken a point where you can't help but
Yeah.
love him if you're coming to this new and want to protect him, and that was very important, which I don't know if you could do from getting sort of like
Mm.
billionaire.
I mean, I guess, and people, of course, are entitled to what they want to. But I've read that as well, like how people. I mean, I've just flicked through some of Twitter, some of other Twitter accounts, and they're just like, "Oh, this is awful." It's like, really, he's not. I mean, like he's different from the comics, but I, he's he makes him an
I
interesting
would say on the
character.
flip
Yeah.
side that the number of my friends who are watching this show who don't watch most of
Hmm.
Marvel stuff and they're loving it and they're saying things like I have no idea what's going on, but I love it.
Yeah.
Purely on the basis of probably Oscar
Yeah.
Isaac, but then enjoying the first episode, like
Yeah.
genuinely. Like I had two female friends who have never I mean, like they watched the big
Yeah.
Avengers movies, but not
Yeah.
everything. Both said they'd watched the first episode
Oh
twice now.
wow. I mean, yeah.
And I was like, "Really?
Yeah.
That's like." I just very casually just went, "Well, if you've got any
Yeah.
questions, let me know."
Yeah.
Because I just thought it was really interesting that you're seeing, and I think that's something to do with how Steven sets up that
Yep.
kind of fall in love with him. And it's like in comics, you fall in love with Steven for different
Yep.
reasons, perhaps. Um, but he seems, and it's also interesting. I mean, the other interesting thing is having the love interest be Mark's. Like, I mean, so
Oh,
far,
yeah, okay.
like that Mark's the one married to Marlene
Yes.
and
Because we know actually from the Layla.
Layla. Just, I don't. I'm. I wish there was a reason I was saying it so I could feel bad, but there literally isn't.
Um, but yeah, I mean, look, I loved it. All I was thinking of was Declan Shalvey when Mr. Knight started rolling up his sleeves. I was thinking, "Oh, yeah, this is an awesome
Yeah,
look."
yeah, he must have. I don't even know how many episodes they saw when they first saw it,
Yeah,
but if he's just saw it this morning,
yeah,
then like I'm sure he's very
yeah.
excited. And if anybody noticed, the thanks in this episode also added Michael
Okay.
Lark. This from last week. So last week it had
Yep.
Declan and everyone you'd expect. This week they added Michael Lark because obviously he did the first,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah,
the first
iteration of
appearance
yeah.
kind of thing. Iteration.
Yeah, no, so I mean, so that is a big, I think, a main point in. But I think Rebecca, you covered it really well. I mean, it's just the first look of it, and you never know what happens beyond that. And as
It's like it's weird
yeah,
because I don't want to be an
no,
apologist for
no,
it, but I just, like I know that on the panel this week you'll almost certainly
hmm
have people who
yep,
are much more
oh,
reticent about the change than I've
yeah,
been. Because I know just from talking to people in Discord and on the group.
yeah,
So
absolutely,
so there will be representation of
yeah,
people who didn't like
exactly.
it or didn't
Oh yeah,
like it
we
as
want to
much.
cover all kind of
Um
views. So yeah, absolutely,
yeah, yeah. So please don't let that put you off. We're not trying to say
no,
we like it just for the
no,
like it. I just having been through things like Iron Fist and
mm.
stuff, I go into things expecting a lot of
Yeah, yeah,
changes.
absolutely. That would have been a
Um
big lesson. But as for
yeah.
another point, Rebecca, you've alluded to a couple before anyway. The the Layla marriage, would that be a pointy end potentially? You think? Mm,
Potentially, I think we don't really know enough about it or
yeah.
Layla. I mean, it's definitely a big
Uh,
change. We'll put it in there because it's a big change
yeah.
from the
I mean, look,
comic.
I'm just trying to put my comic book hat on, and look, really, I'm not that fussed. But Mark, yeah,
Yeah,
it's not.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I think given that we don't know anything about her,
Mm,
really, I don't think it's as
no. No.
jarring, but it was certainly he's married and he's getting a divorce.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. It's all
like,
come really
like I'm
quickly
finding
anyway.
out in 5
Yeah,
minutes. It's like, okay
yeah,
then,
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
and it seems to be, and it sounds like it's something he wanted
Yeah,
as
yeah, yeah.
well.
He was pushing for it, right? And again, we find out because he wants to protect Layla from
Yeah,
KHONSHU.
yeah, from KHONSHU,
Um,
probably. But I mean, we think that's the
yeah.
reason. It could just because he's going around asking random people out on dates.
True.
I'd like to
Yeah, yeah.
that
True.
that can fuel your opinion that it might be
Yes, yes,
Jacob's wife.
exactly.
Is that
You can
like Mark's
reference
married?
Rebecca, say, "No, but Rebecca said."
But maybe Mark's just trying to find Stephen a
N
girlfriend.
Yeah,
Who
true, true.
knows?
Trying to kinda keep him
Maybe he's just trying to cheer him up,
happy. Um,
keep him happy and on the down
yes.
low. But I guess the other big one for me is the whole and it's less
Yep.
controversial now because we've got it in the
Mhm.
comics more, but the legacy
Yes.
aspect of Khonshu and having Harrow
Mm.
especially like how did Harrow stop being an avatar of Khonshu? Like I don't know about you, but I tend to assume it always happened with death.
Right, yeah, yeah,
I mean, I
true.
know that Khonshu brings people back to life, but like this is very much a live like did he
Well,
leave Khonshu
well,
for like what happened? Like I'm dying
I
to
mean,
know.
my head
Did Khonshu find a better
yeah,
offer?
my headcanon is a lot more simple. It just I kind of equated it to perhaps how Mark has handled Khonshu in the comics. He's just, like, disowned him and walked and just said, "Sod off," basically,
Yeah, I
and
mean, maybe he's
yeah.
just like, I agree with Amit more.
Yeah,
Bye.
yeah,
Or maybe Khonshu went to save Mark's life, and Harrow was like,
yeah,
bye.
yeah, so again, we don't
Who
know. I mean,
knows?
but that is an
We don't know.
interesting point, Harrow being an avatar. Look, it does add another spin to it. It actually adds to Harrow's character, I think, as well, because now he's got this experience.
Extra level of
Yep.
knowledge as well that Stephen doesn't
Mhm.
have.
And it's through
Um,
Har
Mark potentially
Yep.
doesn't have, depending on how long Mark's had Khonshu
Yeah.
around. And on face value, will Layla be our Moon Knight by the end of the show?
Yeah, oh my gosh, Rebecca, I'm getting vibes of
You know,
Colleen
like
Wing as
I'm
Iron
this is the
Fist.
pointy end, so I'm gonna put that all
Yeah,
in there. That to me covers the pointy end
yeah,
side of
yeah.
the avatar
How
switching.
did Colleen becoming the Iron Fist at the end of season 2 go?
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, yeah.
um, but,
Yeah, yeah. So I think
yeah, it's just it's another thing that could be drastically different from the comics. But we've had female Iron
oh,
Moon
yeah,
Knights.
for sure.
Now I'm gonna start saying Iron Fist as well.
But yeah, I
So,
think those, I mean, from the 3, I think they were the main ones. Rebecca, the
I
pointy
think yeah, I
ends.
don't think anything else was particularly
Yeah, I mean,
you know.
the far I mean, I've mentioned it to you repeatedly that the one that just overshadows all would be this Mr. Knight. So I'm just interested. I can't wait. I haven't read any of the comments yet from Loonies and such from my social media. I can't wait to read it and hear what everyone else thinks. I know it will be differing. I know there will be. It's probably akin um, to the interpretation of Stephen Grant, and akin to maybe the costume as well.
I think having them together is like playing off
Mm,
each other a little
yeah,
bit, like either for the good side or on the bad side,
yeah.
like so.
So there you go, Loonies. These are our first reactions. Look, as mentioned, we bounced around, but I think we've covered everything. It's pretty remarkable,
Yeah,
and
I think it
yeah,
was pretty thorough. I mean, it's a big
it was a big
episode. Like
episode.
a lot happens for like 52
Yeah,
minutes or
yeah,
whatever.
and I
You
think,
know,
like Stephen, we can give ourselves a compliment. You know, "You handsome devil." You just, but I think
yes.
we did well in covering that. Uh, as for scores, we did last, episode do a reaction score.
Did we?
Yeah. Uh,
Oh no.
look, I'm gonna give this a bit. I mean, well, look, I'll let you know. I'm gonna give this a little bit further down than I gave 9.5 for episode 1 because I really did enjoy that. I watched it 5
Episode
times.
one was
So, this one, I have to go maybe. Oh, it's hard to say. I mean, it's always hard to follow it up with a second episode. I'm gonna say 8.5 still. I'm gonna take
I was gonna go
yeah,
8.5 as well. I
I
agree.
give
I agree. Because there's still a few things
yeah.
hanging, and I'm glad that it made sense of my
Mm.
notes. Like one of my notes just said goat,
Oh,
and I was
goat,
like,
of
why?
course. Yeah.
I mean,
Of course.
I mean, I'm tempted to notch it up to 9. Let's say
Okay.
9 because the boxer
Okay, well,
shorts. Let's say 9 because we all know that's a personal like campaign
yeah.
of mine.
Oh gosh, Rebecca, can you
So
imagine the bedsheet on the face, with that?
I would just,
I'm just
I, I think I would just become a different person.
But yeah, so 9 from Rebecca, 8.5 from myself. It's still a stellar episode. These are the great guns. Just incidentally as well, there was an article just released. Moon Knight, the first episode, garnered about 1.8 million views. It said so. It's right up there. It doesn't eclipse Loki, which was at 2.5. That's amazing. But then again, you have Tom Hiddleston. So 1.8. It's on par with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it eclipsed.
Yeah, which is pretty good for a character that people haven't heard of.
And well, it eclipsed WandaVision and Hawkeye as well. So.
Especially given Bucky. I mean, I think it did eclipse
No,
Hawkeye.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like I mean, even with established characters like Hawkeye and Wanda and Vision, it eclipsed.
Yeah, I mean, you're never gonna top Loki.
Yeah, that's true. But very, very impressive. So interested to hear or read the other reviews as well. But of course, Loonies, all your thoughts as well. Can't wait.
Yeah, please, everyone. Dying to see how you're finding the episodes.
And we will have a little window of that as well, Looney listeners. But next phase, before that, Rebecca and I will be returning very shortly to
very soon
to cover.
Once we've read the
exactly,
comic,
it's out now.
But
yeah,
promise you we'll change T-shirts. You'll never know.
yeah, exactly. It'll be seamless. But we'll be covering Jed MacKay's and Alessandro Cappuccio and Rochelle Rosenberg's Moon Knight number 10, which will be very cool. It's been a long time between
wait.
Drinks there.
I haven't read it yet.
So we'll be definitely catching up with that. But then, of course, as well, by the end of this weekend, there will be a panel discussion with myself and hopefully Rebecca and two other Loonies, and we'll be going through your feedback and all our thoughts. A bit of a deep dive into this episode to Summon the Suit to get a bit more of a fleshed out discussion. So that should be fun as well. Rebecca, any plugs before we close this one out for the Loonies?
I think, despite being on all the other podcasts I'm always on, this is my project for the next 6 weeks, really. So.
Yes.
Listen to our comics reviews. Let us know what you think about Black, White, and
gosh.
Red.
It's coming out as well. That's coming out too.
Let us know, dying to see how Jed's story plays out. It's just crazy. This is feels like the height of Green Knight.
It does.
And let us know what T-shirts you're buying.
The merch. We haven't even
hot toys you're buying.
Yeah, we'll talk about the merch and stuff the next.
If you're buying socks, all of that.
Next episode, I've already done pre-orders as well. I'm so excited. I've thrown caution to the wind. I'm just like, whatever. Like this is not going to happen again. So.
I'm trying to wait till everything's out, but I don't know if I can.
But you might miss out on what if it, Anyway, I'll save you a copy of something if it does. Don't worry, Rebecca. Look, the credits again. Just check out the show notes. It's all in there. Thank you so much to the patroonies. I will shout out their names though: Daniel, Drew, Frank, Justin, Derek, Kyle, Wayne, Jordan, Josh, James, Anthony, Russell, Michael, Mario, Gavin, and Matthew. Thank you so much for all your support. Thank you to all our supporters. Go drop us a line on email, Facebook, even the website if you want, itkmoonnight.com. Just look for ITK Moon Knight. But it's going to be great. We're going to be here for a while. Don't worry. 6 weeks are going to be intense. So, So with that, thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
May KHONSHU watch over the denizens of the night. Catch you later.
Bye.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.